छोड़ के तेरा द्वार दाता और कहीं ना जाऊं। हे पावन परमेश्वर मेरे मन ही मन शर्माऊं। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे।
It works, yeah. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So today we are very fortunate and honored to have association of Her Grace Mandakini Mataji. Mataji is very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. In 1970, Mataji got initiation from Srila Prabhupada. She was basically from France, and there was one past time when Prabhupada, she had read from Srimad Bhagavatam about how to please the spiritual master, one should accept the toughest task. And when Prabhupada met her, Prabhupada came from Russia, and Prabhupada asked her to marry his grace Anand Sakti Prabhu, and she immediately agreed. She remembered the shloka that pastime from Srimad Bhagavatam. And all what we are seeing in Russia, the huge preaching, and that was the reason behind that was the Mataji. And today we are very fortunate to have her association. We will hear more of pastimes from early life of Krishna consciousness. So we welcome Mataji in our traditional way by loudly chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. First, that prayer, Prabhupada said, before actually starting any activities, we should recite that prayer. He told Yamuna Devi. So, Madganatiminandasya, Gyanam Janam Salakaya, Shaksul Miritam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Pashadya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dear devotees from Ujjain, I'm so happy to be with you today on that very, very special day of Lord Balaram Jayanti. Actually, that's a unique day. We can all ask for spiritual strength, and especially your beautiful congregation who has to undergo a very unique time of grief, and at the same time, a moment that is very sublime. You will have all Lord Balaram's strength to go through that very unique moment. So why is it so unique? Because actually the goal of spiritual life, the goal of Krishna consciousness is separation. And separation can be heartbreaking. It can even be made, we can even become mad out of separation. But when there is separation, there is union also. So I wanted to share with you the theme of separation in remembrance of His Holiness, your dear Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Charu Maharaj. So, separation in Antya-lila, the whole Antya-lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita is about separation. And Prabhupada was describing separation in so many ways. He was saying that the love, actually for the beloved who is not with us, becomes really magnified in separation. It can be, of course, a love for Krishna, like in the pastimes about Chaitanya. But it can also be loved for our dear spiritual master. Prabhupada was giving the example of the mother. She's separated from the children, from her son, by example, but she has kept the little slippers of the son when he was a baby, and the son is far, far away. But when she sees the little slippers from the time he was present, her love is increasing and increasing. So I thank you all very much. I thank very much Parasuram Prabhu. And as I told you, I was going to speak of Srila Prabhupada, interaction with Srila Prabhupada, and a few remembrance of your dear Guru Maharaj on the theme of separation. So first, before separation, there is union. And you ask me how I came to Krishna consciousness. So I came to Krishna consciousness many, many years ago, when none of you were born. I was actually 19 years ago. And it was in the year 69. It was a special time in the world for the youth of America, for the youth of Europe. And it was a time of revolution when the youth didn't want to accept the values of their parents. In France, we used to call these values métro, boulot, dodo. Métro means to take the tube very early in the morning. Boulot means work, when you have to go all day, work very hard. And dodo means to go to sleep, when you're so exhausted in the evening when you come home, then you don't have time to reflect on very, very important subject matters. So all the youth, not all, but most of the youth was in that mood. Actually, our parents were born during the Second World War, and their youth was just to struggle for existence. So they just wanted to have comfort, a civilization that makes material life easy. We can call it a plastic civilization, a refrigerator, a cooker, a shower, etc. Everything that was so hard to find during their youth. But as the baby boom generation after the war, we had all this, and still we were not satisfied. We wanted so much to know what was the goal of life, and where we came from, what was going to happen after death. And of course, we were reading the books, trying to understand the philosophy and the civilization of India, of Asia. So that was at the time with two other friends from a university. They came to the point we thought we needed a spiritual master to know what was the goal of human life. And at that time, we came to the conclusion we have to go to India. We had studied all different civilizations of the world, but we came to the conclusion, let's try to find a spiritual master in India. So we did a little job, student job, and in this job, there was a young boy. He was coming from America, he was French, and he saw we were reading books about spiritual life. And he asked, are you interested in spiritual life? So I remember telling him, oh, actually we are living for spiritual life. Then he said, sorry, I'm in an office, so the phone will be ringing sometime. And then he was saying, you know, I have a spiritual master. I have to tell you that this boy had a little tuft of hair at the back of his head. And we told him, actually, we are looking for spiritual master. And he said, my spiritual master's name is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He told us about Prabhupada. He told us about the Srimad Bhagavatam. He said, once you open the Srimad Bhagavatam, you are free from the cycle of birth and death. And as a neophyte impersonalist, we told him, oh, we just want liberation. Then he said, and actually there is a special mantra. We call it the Maha Mantra. You can recite it like that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then you don't have to take birth again in this material world. That's how we met the devotees. So many things happen. We went to visit the devotees, to listen to their conference. And in the beginning, it was very, very hard because we were very polluted with impersonal philosophy. But by Krishna's grace, the devotees were so attractive and the Maha Mantra so powerful. We chanted the Maha Mantra in front of a picture of Lord Buddha. Then they told us one day, our spiritual master is in London. He's actually opening a temple in London. Why don't you go and meet him? And we told them, yes, why not? We're ready to go to India to meet the spiritual master. Let's, and in our foolishness of, very proud 19-year-old girls, we thought, let us test this Swami Bhaktivedanta. Let us see if he's a bona fide spiritual master, if he's not a cheater. So we were very, very concerned about getting a bona fide spiritual master. That's how we came to London, to a temple, the first temple called Bury Place Temple. The day we came, we didn't know. It was the day Srila Prabhupada installed the beautiful deities of Sri Sri Radha Londanishvara. Now we celebrate that day as Odan Shasti. And we came, the girls put some sari on us, they put our hair properly, and time came to go to the temple. The temple, dear devotees, was extremely mystical. Shyamasundar Prabhu had actually constructed that temple. He had imported some red oak wood from California, and the ceiling was all curved. There was a very spiritual atmosphere, incense, not many devotees, maybe 15. But when we came inside, the kirtan was like so powerful and pure. Actually, Yamuna Devi was singing. So we were singing with the devotees, and all of a sudden, everybody felt flat on the floor. We didn't know why they were doing that, but as young, polite girls, we did the same. But as Srila Prabhupada said, ladies, they have some defects. And one of their defects is to be very curious. So I was very curious. So I put my head up a little bit to see what was happening. That's when I saw some very extraordinary golden feet passing near my head. Then I put my head up a little more, and for the first time, I saw Srila Prabhupada in this life. It was a unique vision. Prabhupada was walking. It was a very narrow temple room, not very big. And coming through the side door, he was walking towards the deities to sit on the Vyasasana. And he looked so aristocratic. His head was up. He was very straight. And I remember, like if it was yesterday, thinking, oh, he looks like the emperor of the world. And at the same time, I became shocked because he looked so humble. He looked like the most humble sage also in the world. So I thought, oh, what a unique personality. Then he sat on the Vyasasana and he started leading kirtan, as you have heard, Srila Prabhupada kirtan. First, he took the kartal, very slow. You know, the mood was very meditative. And after the tempo increased, and then it became very, very slow again. And it was like magical. Then Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture, and something very, very mystical happened. Our English was just school English. That was our first year of uni. So we didn't understand the devotees when they were talking, you know, the different accents from England, America. But Srila Prabhupada, we understood every word. Plus, we got so amazed because he was answering our questions without us asking them aloud. So it was extremely surprising. And maybe 15 devotees in the room. And something, it was a little bit like we can read in Krishna book, when Lord Krishna was dancing with the damsels of Raja, everyone was thinking, oh, Krishna is only dancing with me. And Srila Prabhupada was looking at all of us, but we were thinking, Srila Prabhupada is only looking at me. When I caught Srila Prabhupada glance, it became so powerful. I didn't know why. I had tears coming from my eyes. And I was wondering why am I crying? I'm not overjoyed. And I'm not crying because of grief. And then looking at his eyes, I understood that person knows me much better than I do. And maybe it's not only from this life. And I could see in his eyes a limitless compassion. Compassion I never witnessed in anyone before. Compassion meaning, I know all you have gone through. I know your hopes. I know your deceptions. And I know your sufferings. But I have a solution. I have the solution. So it was our first day. And it was very promising. First, may I ask you, dear Prabhu, do we have only until 5, or is it okay to go a little bit over? Can somebody tell me?
Yes, Mataji.
Can someone tell me?
Yes, Mataji, can you pardon?
Yeah, do I have to stop exactly at 5 o'clock, or can we go a little over?
Yeah, you can go. Means we have session from 7:30 to 8:30 IST, and I think half an hour more we should go.
Okay, so I know how to, because, okay, so I go on a little bit to Srila Prabhupada. So in the evening with my friend from France, we were speaking in French, so nobody will understand us. We were saying, do you think Srila Prabhupada is really our spiritual master? And actually, Prabhupada stayed the first time 7 days in London. After 7 days, he left London to go to America. He knew the deities were installed, wonderful devotees were there, you know, the three heroic couples, Yamuna Devi, Gurudas, Shyamasundar, Malati, Mukunda, and Janaki. You know, the Beatles were really helping us. So Prabhupada thought it's time to go somewhere else, to push the mission somewhere else. So that first day was extraordinary. And we had 7 days to decide if Srila Prabhupada was our real spiritual master. So many things happened. Next day, Prabhupada explained that an initiation was going to take place the day after. And he said that initiation is the beginning of spiritual life. And I started to feel very attracted to Prabhupada. I'd been only 2 days in the temple. Devotees told us, you go in Prabhupada's room, you can ask him questions, you can talk to him. So I went up and I felt a little shy to ask him for initiation. It was only 2 days. So I said, Srila Prabhupada, I would like to start spiritual life. And he smiled, he had a big, big laugh. And he looked at me, he said, but you're already doing spiritual life. You're washing Krishna's plate. You are cleaning Krishna's floor. And being, as I told you, a neophyte impersonalist, I thought, oh, funny, strange, this is spiritual life. And later on, Yamuna Devi told us, when Prabhupada saw us, he asked Tamal Krishna, who was at that time Brahmachari, so I will call him Tamal Krishna Prabhu at that time. He asked him, why don't we initiate these nice French girls? And he said something, he will say to speaking to all our ladies in the movement joining. Prabhupada is very poetic, he's a Kavi. He said, they are like flowers blowing in the wind. And Tamal Krishna, who had talked with us, who knew we were pretending to be impersonalists, said, oh, Srila Prabhupada, they are not ready. And Prabhupada said, okay, we'll wait a little bit. So meanwhile, so many things were happening. We were told to go with Srila Prabhupada on a walk. There was a beautiful little park, and Srila Prabhupada loved to do his morning walk in that park. In that park, Srila Prabhupada saw a statue. He asked the devotees, who is that man? The devotees told, this is a British man, he did this, he did that. And Srila Prabhupada said, oh, you know, he has done so many austerities all his life, so many austerities just to get to statue in this park, to be a little famous. And he said, and what's happening? What is the result of all these austerities? The result is that once a year, somebody comes and for 10 minutes, if he's famous enough, somebody comes and give a little discourse. And then somebody else comes with a broom, and with the broom, he goes on the head of the statue to actually clean the stool of the pigeons. And Prabhupada said, is it worthwhile, all these austerities? And he was laughing. So during this walk, it was December, we were just 4 or 5, 4 maybe with him. I was walking near Prabhupada on his right, and all of a sudden, Srila Prabhupada stopped, and he looked at me with a very intense look. And when we read the Impersonalist book, they tell you, the spiritual master, your real spiritual master, is actually going to say a special sentence, and then very mystical. Then you are going to understand is your spiritual master. So we were waiting every day for that very special sentence. And then when Prabhupada gave me that very intense look, I thought, he's going to say that a very, very special sentence. I will know he's my spiritual master. And he looked, and then I was waiting, encouraging him with my eyes. And then he said, are you cold? And I was so disappointed. I was waiting for something very mystical. And I told him, no, Srila Prabhupada, I'm not cold. Then we went back to the temple. And every day something very extraordinary happened. Just the day before Srila Prabhupada was going to leave, I think it was a Sunday, there was a class in the temple. And after the class, Srila Prabhupada asked the audience, do you have any comments, any questions? And one man from India raised his hand. Then he started to say, Krishna is not God. God has no form. Krishna is a statue. And then all of a sudden, Prabhupada became so angry. He became red. And then he started screaming at the man. Prabhupada was at the back, near the deities, and the man was at the rear end of the temple. And Prabhupada started screaming at him, you're just a nurse. You're a rascal, you're a fool. How do you dare to say Krishna is no form? And it was going on and on and on, becoming all red. And in our book, we never heard about a spiritual master getting angry like that. So at night, when time came to ask the question to each other with my friend in French, the question, you remember, was, do you think Srila Prabhupada is our real spiritual master? Then very sadly, because we got already attached to him, we had to say, no, he's not our spiritual master, because we read in the books that the spiritual master never becomes angry. So we didn't tell anything to anybody. We decided to leave next morning. Very sadly, we packed our little bags. But before we could go, Yamuna Devi came and said, Srila Prabhupada wants to see you. Then we went to see Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was just so charming. He didn't say anything very special. He asked me if I knew how to type. Probably he wanted me to type the books or the lectures. But at the time, I didn't know how to do anything, just read books. So I told him, no, Srila Prabhupada. But I don't know what happened when we left. When we left his room, we didn't want to leave the temple anymore. So the next day, Prabhupada left the Berry Place temple, and all the devotees, except the Pujari, we went with him to the airport. And at that time, from within, I understood that actually Srila Prabhupada was my eternal spiritual master. It just came from within, from Paramatma. And it became an evidence. Then with my friend, we decided we're going to try this process of bhakti. We're going to try very sincerely, and we'll see if it works. And in a very naughty way, we wrote one of our teachers, who was an Indian sannyasi, teaching Vedanta in our university. We wrote to him, "We are sorry, we are not coming back, because now we are very happy to tell you that we have decided to take the path of bhakti, devotional service and love to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead." So we wrote to him. And later, when Srila Prabhupada came to Paris, we invited that Mayavadi sannyasi to meet Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada was very kind to him. So, dear devotees, that was to answer your question, how I came to Krishna consciousness. So, about Srila Prabhupada, because all that very, special moment, all the grief you are undergoing, I wanted to tell you a lila of separation with Srila Prabhupada. At one point, Srila Prabhupada came to England again, and at that time he became sick. He stayed for 1 month in England at Bhaktivedanta Manor. And by Krishna's grace, I got the blessing to cook for him. I had learned already a little cooking, because in London Temple, we had a lot of people from our congregation who were coming from India. And the ladies, they knew how to cook very nicely. One day, I heard that Srila Prabhupada said that I want to go back to the spiritual world just to eat loglu and kachoris. So I learned how to make this preparation and many other preparations, also from Yamuna. And when that opportunity came to cook for Srila Prabhupada, I became very, very happy. Shruti showed how to use, that brass cooker who has 3 layers and a lid, and it's a steamer. So our whole day was completely filled with Srila Prabhupada presence. And he stayed for full months, and I couldn't imagine him going away. But unfortunately, after 1 month, Srila Prabhupada had to go away. And at that time, also, I have to tell you, one time I made kachori for Srila Prabhupada. So I brought them myself on a little plate. And when I came in Bhaktivedanta Manor's room, I showed Srila Prabhupada the plate, and his eyes became big, like saucers. And he said, "Oh, Mandakini, you made kachoris?" So I said, "I tried, Srila Prabhupada." And in his eyes, I could see, the little boy in Calcutta who was actually going to the kachori street seller and asking for kachori and putting them in all his pockets. But except for the kachori, Prabhupada was taking his prasadam nicely, but I didn't have any comment. So I was wondering, is Srila Prabhupada actually liking? Is he liking this prasad or not? So the last evening came, and I remember feeling already a very, very strong separation. not being able to see how it was going to be with Srila Prabhupada not being present in our life day after day. And Shruti Kirti he came in the kitchen, and he had a big list of all the special preparation I'd been making during the month. And he said, Mandakini, Srila Prabhupada wants you to make this and that and that and that for the plan. It was a long list. And it was Srila Prabhupada, I understood, way of telling, actually, I loved what you make. Please make it again. The spiritual master is always using every little detail to increase the love of the disciple for him. And this love is not keeping it for himself. He's giving that love to his spiritual master. He's giving it to his spiritual master. He's actually giving it to Lord Krishna. So all night with some friends, we started to actually cook for Srila Prabhupada. And then the end of the cooking came to a point. I remember Srila Prabhupada has asked some red plum chutney that we call Radha Red. And the shops were closed in the little village. But we went to the village, we knocked on the owner of the shop door. It was a little late, and we explained to him, our spiritual master, he wants some red plums. Can you sell us some red plums? And very kindly, he opened the shops, he gave us some plums. So we made a feast for Srila Prabhupada. And then I realized it was late at night, there is nothing more to do. And tomorrow Srila Prabhupada is leaving. And it was like intolerable. I couldn't bear the separation. So I took the brass steamer, and I started to polish this brass steamer like mad. And it was shining like gold. It was shining like it never shone before. And then I thought, then when Srila Prabhupada will see his brass steamer, he's going to be surprised. He's going to say, who has done that? Then he will say, oh, it's my little foolish disciple. It's Mandakini Devi. And at that time, we will still be together. We will never be separated. So I polished and polished and polished. And then off it was ready to go and to take all the preparations and more. And Prabhupada went off. I couldn't go with him. I had some services to do. And for a few days, I thought I was not going to leave because it was too difficult not to have Prabhupada's physical presence. But after a few days, Krishna very kindly helped me to realize that his presence was actually also in his instruction. And then I started to have Srila Prabhupada's presence in the service, in his instruction. Regarding separation, you have seen that beautiful movie of Yadubara and Vishaka Prabhu. At one point, Srila Prabhupada had a heart attack, and he was going to go to India to get better. Then he told the devotees, I've already been given notice. And you shouldn't worry, you shouldn't grieve, because you will be, when my time will come, you will be chanting Hare Krishna here. I will be chanting Hare Krishna there. And that sound vibration will vibrate, will circulate all over the universe. And in that sound vibration, we will never be separated. Also, Srila Prabhupada told one devotee who was asking him, Srila Prabhupada, when we go back to the spiritual world, are we going to recognize you? Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you will recognize me. And more than that, you will recognize each other. Also, when Srila Prabhupada came to the manor for the last time in 77, his mood has changed. He was not anymore the spiritual master whose duty is to chastise. He was like in the mood of, he was letting his mood of Uttama Adhikari just inundate the whole temple, inundate the devotees. He was not chastising anymore. He was not seeing, you know, all our defects, but he was seeing the good qualities of everyone. To one devotee called Jai Tirtha Prabhu, he said, you're actually the Tirtha I've come to take shelter of. So that was Srila Prabhupada before he left. Also, when he saw that it was going to be time to depart soon, Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan and he was hardly eating anything. A devotee scientist, a disciple, came from the West. And when he saw Prabhupada's body being barely skin and bones, you know, no flesh hardly, he started to cry. And Srila Prabhupada told him, but why are you crying? You know, I've told you so many times about the body, you know, the material body, about leaving the material body. So as a scientist, you are now seeing the proof of my teaching. So that was a few thoughts I wanted to share with you about Srila Prabhupada. And of course, after we will leave maybe a little time for questions. And if you have any questions, I can try to reply. So, dear devotees, I wanted to share a few things dear, about your dear Guru Maharaj. I didn't have so much association, but a few where he could express his sweetness to us, his god sister, always been very, very kind to us, inviting us to come to Ujjain, inviting us to have some, you know, panchakarma treatment in the Ayurvedic. But time went too short, we didn't do it. But it was always such a pleasure to meet him. And as Pastor Prabhu told me over the phone, when I told him I'm now at the moment at New Mayapur in France, he said, oh, my Guru Maharaj is very, very pleased because he helped so much saving New Mayapur. So you probably know the story, but it's such a beautiful story. The devotees in France had very, very important deaths. And the situation was really, really difficult. There was no way to actually pay back the debts. So New Mayapur, the beautiful farm, it's actually a place of pilgrimage because Prabhupada came to New Mayapur. And it's the abode of Krishna Balaram. Krishna Balaram is actually dwelling in New Mayapur. So then your dear Guru Maharaj came back to London and he asked the patron members to donate a loan, to give a loan to the French devotees so they could buy back New Mayapur. the patron members agreed, and they gave a certain sum of money. And then Bhakti Charu Maharaj, dressed in civil clothes, not in devotee clothes, you know, like a businessman from India, and a few devotees also dressed in civil clothes. And they went to the room when the auction took place. And it was time to sell New Mayapur. So everything went well, the prices went up, but all of a sudden, a man came and he wanted to buy New Mayapur. And it was going up and up and up, and there was only a certain amount of money. Devotees didn't have more than that. So Paramatma in their heart helped Maharaj and the other devotees to do a trick to this man. So one of the devotees got the name of that man, and then there was an announcement, because at the time there was no smartphone, no mobile phone. You had, you know, this very big phone with numbers, and you had to go to a special place to get a phone call. So somebody came in the room and said, Mr. I don't know his name, let's say a French name, Mr. Dupont, somebody is calling you urgently on the phone. So the man had actually to leave the room where the auction sale took place. He left the room to go to the cabin where the telephone was. And then there was a lady devotee who had the mission to talk to him. I don't know what she told him, but she was taking all his attention and talking and talking and talking, so much so that meanwhile in the room, as he was not coming back, the auction, was done with His Holiness Bhakti Charu just fixing the last price, and the devotees could buy New Mayapur. So yes, dear Parasuram Prabhu, your dear Guru Maharaj is very happy now, because now I can see, or I can show you just the forest. Can you see? Can you see the forest? Can you see?
Yes,
I can
yes,
see you the
Maharaj.
forest. I mean, one.
Yes,
I mean, while, yeah, it's very, very beautiful. We have a lot of young people coming for the festival. And it's a lot of preaching going on. We have a wonderful devotee called Janananda Swami. He's inspiring the community and a lot of children, young people. It's a new, it's fresh air coming to New Mayapur, because a lot of difficulties were there, difficulties of the past. But now a young generation is coming, so it's very positive, very nice. So what else did I want to share about dear Bhakti Charu Maharaj? Let's see. Oh yeah, something very, very important. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's very, very beautiful. Bhakti Charu Maharaj, just the night he left before flying to America, called a dear friend of him called Nishringananda Prabhu. Do you know Nishringananda Prabhu?
Yes.
Anybody? No? He's a god brother, he's one of Maharaj's god brother. And Maharaj couldn't sleep at night because he had a very, very strong concern about the future of ISKCON. Because as you know, as you see us every day, you see we have wrinkles, we're getting old. So we are all in the queue. We won't be there for, a time will come when we have to go to another destination sooner than you. So Maharaj was worrying about the future of ISKCON. He called that night. It was actually 2:30 in the morning. And he called him in America to express his grave concern that everyone in the movement, leaders and devotees, young generation, don't always understand Srila Prabhupada's position deeply as the founder Acharya of ISKCON. And he wanted a deeper understanding to be developed, to have really a common center, because he says that if this was not going to happen, it will be division in ISKCON. And he says that the forces of time, they are centrifugal forces of time, they will divide people if we don't keep Srila Prabhupada very deeply, very strongly in the center of ISKCON, in the center of our lives. So he, that Maharaj had a very gentle nature. But he said, I'm like a pet dog who will bark only when someone will attack ISKCON and the GBC. He actually, there is something very, very beautiful that he said in his Vyasa Puja offering of 2012. Maybe some of you remember or know this very beautiful Vyasa Puja offering. He wrote to Srila Prabhupada this word. Now that I've done whatever you wanted me to do, please allow me to go back to you, because you already have called back so many of your beloved children. Please now allow me to have this good fortune. So I want to share with you. Some beautiful moments we had in Bhaktivedanta Manor for Srila Prabhupada Appearance Day 1 year. I can't remember which year it was. It was, some of you may know Bhaktivedanta Manor. So for Janmashtami, we have so many thousands and thousands of people. And the day after, it's Prabhupada, Vyasa Puja. So we do that in another little tent we put up, and Maharaj was with us. And I was asked that year to be the master of ceremony, to introduce, the speaker. So when it came to be Bhakti Charu Maharaj's turn, I felt some inspiration from within. And I asked Maharaj, please, can you talk to Srila Prabhupada in Bengali? Can you make your offering in Bengali? Because Srila Prabhupada, I'm sure, loved when you talk Bengali. And it was so moving because he became like a little child, He became a little emotional, like a little child. And he came near Srila Prabhupada Vyasa-san, and he started to talk to Srila Prabhupada in Bengali. It was so sweet. After he told us the nice offering he made, But even without understanding the words, we could feel actually Prabhupada and His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj eternal link. Like he was like like a very, very surrendered son of Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was reciprocating, and all of us felt very, very moved by that. So just to conclude, you see I went a little over time, but I want to read to you because it's very, very beautiful, that homage of Bhakti Charu Swami offering to Srila Prabhupada, that 2012 offering, because it's expressing so much that mood of separation we talked about. So again, dear devotees, when there is separation, although it's such a grief, it's so painful, especially when you don't expect it, it just comes so abruptly. But always remember, separation means union. And in a way, it is how we will practice for when we will go back to the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world, there is always separation and union. Separation makes us remember the beloved even more. We cannot forget the beloved. And when union comes, it's so sweet, you know, because of that separation. And it's going to be union, and it's going to be separation again. And in a way, in separation, there is the highest union. So the beautiful offering, Vyasapuja offering, is expressing that separation. So I read to you. And it's the title of that Vyasapuja offering is actually what I read you before. It is called, Please Allow Me to Go Back to You. So Maharaj is talking to Prabhupada. One day you asked me not to cook for you, it was 77, saying, you can see that I can't eat anything. Still, why are you cooking? You have so many things to do. Why are you wasting your time cooking for me? I told you, I cook, hoping that someday you will feel better and would like to eat something. You replied, oh yes, you got it. I will get better only when I leave this world. I broke down crying. In a very soothing voice, you said, is this what you learned from me? Is this what I taught you? Didn't I teach you that the spirit soul is immortal and never changing? It is only the body that changes and finally dies when the soul leaves the body. When you left this planet, those instructions remain as my guiding beacon. Although my heart ached with constant agony due to your separation, I try to remember that you were always there. At that time, I used to imagine that just as a mother sometimes hides while teaching a son to walk, urging him to start walking by searching for her, similarly, you are hiding behind some invisible curtain so that I will search for you and thus develop my ardent desire to go where you are. Those days, I used to think I had so many things to do here. Therefore, I needed to stay. Now that I've done whatever you wanted me to do, please allow me to go back to you. You have already called back so many of your dear children. Now, please allow me to have this good fortune, aspiring to be your eternal servant, Bhakti Charu Swami. So, dear devotees, we can see that Srila Prabhupada has actually fulfilled your dear Guru Maharaj desire. And he gave us actually, he gave us the way to do, you know, to actually, it's so beautifully expressed. He's a poet. To think of Srila Prabhupada, and for you to think of your Gurudev, like he's like behind the curtain watching you, you know, and he's not coming because he wants you to walk by yourself, to be strong, to walk by yourself, but he's watching and he's waiting for you. And the best thing you can do to please your Gurudev is to show your progress to him. And as Prabhupada expressed, and because your Gurudev is always saying, he's saying that all of us, you know, his disciple, we are just here to assist Srila Prabhupada. So the best service you can do for your Gurudev is to serve Srila Prabhupada mission in cooperation. And then one day, when time comes, when you will go back to the spiritual world, you will see your Gurudev at Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet, and he will straight away, he will engage you. You will know exactly what to do. He will be there, because Srila Prabhupada says we will recognize each other, although we won't have this forms we have now, you know, these bodies made of flesh and bones, and getting old or sick, or we will have our spiritual identity in the spiritual world, where every step is a dance, every word is a song, and your dear Gurudev immediately will embrace you and engage you in your eternal relationship with Krishna. So, you know, I pray to Srila Prabhupada that Lord Balaram give all of you the spiritual strength to remember that your spiritual master is never far away from you, that he's watching you from behind the curtain, and that he's very, very happy to see your progress. And if you have any difficulties, that he's also there to give you strength, and that he's always very kind. And that Srila Prabhupada is also very, very kind as a spiritual grandfather. So thank you very much, dear devotees. I'm very grateful to you to have allowed me to be with you on that very auspicious day of wonderful Lord Balaram. And I'm sure he's going to give all of us the strength to carry on our spiritual practice. And we pray to him to be able to be instruments of our spiritual masters without any pride, to be humble, to glorify other devotees' service, even if we are not put in front. May our joy be to see our brothers and sisters glorified. Thus Krishna will be pleased, Srimati Radharani will be pleased, because she's always pushing devotees in front, saying to Krishna, Krishna, look, these devotees, they are much better than I am. Please be kind to them. So let us follow in the footsteps of Bhakti Charu Maharaj. Let us follow in the footsteps of all the great devotees. And let us be part until our last breath of Panchatattva mission, of Lord Chaitanya's mission. So thank you again very much, dear devotees. If you have any question, I may try to answer. If not, it's just a pleasure to be with you. And I wish you all the best in your spiritual life. And I wish you to always feel the presence of your Guru Maharaj in every step of your life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much for your
Hare
wonderful
Krishna.
association. Hare Krishna. So there is no question. Already you narrated various pastimes and answered all the questions that would be in the mind of the devotees, especially how serving a spiritual master in separation, how the serving in separation is the greatest union. So we express our heartful gratitude
Yeah.
for your grace, for enlightening us. You narrated various pastimes, especially your beginning days in Krishna consciousness, your coming to Krishna consciousness, your first meeting with Srila Prabhupada, and how a series of interactions with Srila Prabhupada very inspiring. But you didn't narrate it about that Russia pastime, Mataji.
Do you want me to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you can
You
share
want?
that. That is
Okay.
very inspiring and very important
Okay.
pastime.
Yes, Fabucci. It's going to be. I will do very short because
Yeah.
we have 15 minutes left, and usually it takes me many hours, but I'll try. I'll do a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I was in the beautiful Vadalondonishvara temple. And actually, Vadalondonishvara deities are very, very special. Srila Prabhupada told about them. He said, actually, Krishna has cheated you. He didn't come as a murti, he came himself. He said that. And our minister for deity worship said Prabhupada said they are the original Radha Krishna of ISKCON. And all the other devotees, actually expansion of Shri Radha Londonishvara. So in that temple, Krishna, although as I told you very honestly, I did not know how to do anything, Krishna allowed me to be trained by Yamuna Devi to serve them. And when Yamuna Devi left to go to India for the first World Harinam Tour, Sankirtan Tour, I was left alone with Shri Radhanandana. It got me rid of most of my impersonalism. They were just so kind and so present. But after some times, maybe a year or so, a little more, I began to develop an urge to preach, to actually go door to door, to be instruments of Lord Chaitanya. And as you described in the beginning, the Prabhu introduced me a little, I read something in one of Srila Prabhupada's purport, and that sentence sticked in my mind. It said, if the spiritual master is asking you to do something difficult, he's giving you a difficult task, and if you do it, you will make a lot of spiritual progress. And reading that, I became very, very excited. I rushed to my dear Shri Radhanandana, and I told them, my Lord, you're so clever, you're so intelligent. Please, can you make some arrangement that Srila Prabhupada will ask me to do some task, a little difficult, but please, help me to remember to say yes. And then I forgot about it. Meanwhile, we didn't know the whole saga behind, but we heard that Srila Prabhupada went to Moscow, that he went to Russia, that at the time, that was still what we call the Cold War between the Soviet Union and America. And we had read so many, extraordinary things and frightening events happening behind what we call the Iron Curtain. That at the time I remember becoming very, proud of Srila Prabhupada, thinking, oh, Srila Prabhupada is so great. He's called Abhay Charan, he's so fearless. And I was so proud of him, you know. And I remember thinking, certainly a country I will never go. Then Prabhupada came to Paris. After he went to London. And with Prabhupada was coming to London a lot because it was the center of actually all his world traveling. So we saw Srila Prabhupada a lot. And when he came to the temple of Sri Radha, Londonishvara, we always had some nice exchange. He was always joking. He was in the mood of a father or grandfather to me. You know, I was maybe 20 at the time or 21. And, you know, you remember Prabhupada said all the ladies should get married and all the boys should remain brahmacharis. So I didn't want to get married at that time. You know, I thought I didn't come to spiritual life to get married. I didn't want, and Prabhupada was always making jokes with me when he came. He was telling me, Mandakini, you are not married yet. And I was getting red. And he was saying, you didn't find anybody good enough for you? And I didn't know what to say. And he was laughing and laughing. So the time when he came, I was always doing so many other service for Srila Prabhupada. Somebody told me Srila Prabhupada wants to see you in his room. And I thought, I must have done some mistake in my service. He's going to chastise me. So I went there, I knocked on the door, and I heard Srila Prabhupada's voice say, come in. So I came in and he had a big, big smile. And he motioned to come closer. He was sitting under a low desk, a low table. And Shyamasundar was standing near him. And from my obeisances, I came and I looked at him. And he had such a big smile. I thought, oh, he's not going to chastise me, you know. And then he said, Mandakini. And I always remember it the same way. His voice was so normal. It was like he would tell me, Mandakini, would you go across the street to get some potatoes or something? He said, Mandakini, would you like to go to Russia and to marry this boy Anatoly? And by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, help to spread the mission there. And for half a second, I got shocked. But then, Shri Radha Londonishvara helped me to remember my prayers. And I remembered my prayers, and I looked at Srila Prabhupada, and I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. And his smile became big. You know, in ISKCON, we call it oceanic. And he was so pleased, and I was very happy too. Then he turned to Shyamasundar, he said, Shyamasundar, you arrange everything. So that was the beginning of that extraordinary saga, and the beginning of my love story with the Russian devotees that is still going on. I still go there when there is no COVID, closing the borders. I go there practically 3 times a year, plus 2 other Eastern Bloc countries or Central Asia countries that were part of the Soviet Union before. So then I can tell you, unfortunately, very briefly, because that's a subject that I love to develop. I can tell you a little bit about the heroic devotees there, you know, who sacrifice their health, their mental health also, their lives. Some of them left the bodies to spread Krishna consciousness in Russia. And what we have to remember is that what the KGB wanted them to say, he wanted them to tell publicly, we just actually this Krishna consciousness, it's very bad. We deny Krishna consciousness. If they said that, and if they practice at home, they would have been left peacefully. But somehow or other they didn't. They rather gave up, their freedom, their life, their health, but just to never deny Krishna consciousness. And Krishna reciprocated with them in very, very beautiful ways. But this is a very long subject matter, and we don't have time to develop that, but they are just saintly devotees. And when we meet, we still meet some of them have not passed away. And they're very, very humble. They would say, I just did something very ordinary. But, the first devotee, Ananta Shanti, who Prabhupada asked me to marry, he stayed more than 6 years in jail. He was the last one to come out. And he never gave up chanting Hare Krishna while in jail. He should have died many times, but Prabhupada and Krishna protected him. And from him, everything came. He was one. When Prabhupada met him in Moscow, he told him about Krishna for 2 full days. And Shyamasundar said he never saw Prabhupada giving so much to one person in such a short time. So then he got empowered by Srila Prabhupada and by Krishna to just travel all over Russia and make wonderful, wonderful devotees, who in turn made wonderful, wonderful devotees. And now if you go to Russia, even the leaders, they don't know how many devotees are in Russia. Because sometimes you will meet someone who is coming from a village, who got a book, who started to chant Hare Krishna, and who told his friends about it. And some people who never make devotees, they become devotees. To show you, there is a very nice story. One Maharaj was on a traveling Sankirtan, book distribution, and they were in the depths of Russia, really the depths, where not many people are. And they are passing near a field, and he sees a man who, he looks like a devotee, but not quite. He has a shaved head, he has a shika, he has some kind of a white bed sheet, like a dhoti. So the Maharaj tell the driver, go back, let's see what's happening. So he goes back and he sees that man. He says, oh, why are you dressed like that? Who are you? And that man is chanting Hare Krishna. That man says, actually, I got a book, and in that book, it was explained about the chanting of Hare Krishna, and there was a picture of the Goswamis of Vrindavan. And he says, I read about the Goswamis of Vrindavan, and I am like them. He was a bum. He didn't have any fixed home. And he says, they were sleeping under the trees. So myself, I don't have a home, and I sleep wherever I can. And they are not the Goswamis, Rupa and Sanatan, they left their jobs. They were ministers in the court of the Muslim king. So he says, I don't have any job either. So I'm like a Goswami. So he says, now I'm traveling, I'm chanting Hare Krishna. And in every town and village, I go to my community of homeless people and I tell them about Krishna. So in Russia, it's spreading in so many ways. You know, Prabhupada is very, very pleased with it. So now I think time is up. And I want to thank you very, very much, dear devotees, and to wish you all the best and all the strength of Lord Balaram. And remember, your spiritual master is hiding behind the curtain watching you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I'm online. That's finished. Okay, should we conclude now?
Yes, Mataji,
Hare
we
Bol.
are very thankful. We express our heartfelt gratitude for your wonderful association and very inspiring stories
Thank
that
you
you told. And especially this Russia pastime, we will have to hear much more. So we'll have another session for that. And we wish you a very happy Balram Jayanti. And thanks for all your blessings that you offered to all of us. And we back for your association at Ujjain whenever the time is suitable. This COVID situation is improved. Please come to Ujjain and have
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much,
Please
Mataji.
keep
So
well,
wish
keep well and safe.
yes.
Hare
So
Bol.
we can thank you. We can express our heartfelt gratitude by chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Her Grace Mandakini Mata ki Jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki Jai, Gaur
Hare
Pramanande,
Bol.
Hare
Srila
Hare Krishna,
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami ki jai. Hare Bol. Hare Bol.